Hello and a very good afternoon from Sheffield in South Yorkshire. Today you join me at Sheffield Station, where we'll be soon catching our ride through to Huddersfield with Northern, travelling via the hilariously named Penistone line. I know, I'm just so mature, aren't I? But first, a brief look at what Sheffield Station has to offer. Well, I must say, the facade of the station is somewhat unique when compared to other large stations in the UK. I really quite like it. The station dates back to 1870 and is situated in close proximity to the city centre campus of Sheffield Hallam University. In addition to the many northern services that the station sees, Sheffield is also served by long-distance East Midlands Railway and cross-country services. Within the station itself, you'll find just about everything you need, including self-service ticket machines and staff ticket counters. While the selection isn't the best, there are also a few small shops and food outlets at your disposal too, which is good as, bar the Settle to Carlisle route, Northern don't provide catering on any of their trains, although I wouldn't have expected this from an operator who only really runs short distance services. Anyway, time to head through to the platform to await the arrival of our train. The service we'll be catching today is the 15:35 to Huddersfield, which will soon be departing from platform 1.
The train to arrive at platform 2 will leave in 50.
Now, given that the inbound service had been cancelled, I had kind of expected that ours would be too. However, there must have been a spare unit kicking around in the depot, as lo and behold, our train soon came trundling into the station. For its Penistone line services, Northern uses these 3-car Class 150 Sprinters. Originally, these would have been 2-car units, but a coach from another unit has since been added, meaning that there's now a random cab in the middle of the train. I'm not going to lie though, I'm glad that the extra coaches have been added to these services, as I used to travel between Huddersfield and Sheffield regularly when they were only using 2-car trains, and it was often the proverbial sardine can. Anyway, these trains were built by British Rail between 1984 and 1987, and have a top operating speed of 75 miles an hour.
I think the one from Huddersfield must have been cancelled.
Northern's Class 150s feature only standard class seating, laid out in a high-density 2+3 configuration. Legroom for 6'1" me is non-existent. I look forward to having blood circulation to my lower legs cut off, which is a shame really, as I find the seats themselves to be quite comfortable. Bar Northern's maquette, they're still very similar to the ones that this train would have originally been kitted out with when they first entered service. However, something that's definitely not an original feature are these USB plug sockets, which I certainly appreciate. And lastly, as is quite common on older trains, these Class 150s aren't air conditioned, but rather, the windows can be opened at the top. While it was pretty chilly outside, the saloon was a bit like the inside of an oven, so an open window was definitely a bit of a godsend. Well, that about covers it for the seats. All that's left to do before we set off now is to take a quick look at the route we'll be taking. Today's journey will see us covering around 36 miles, first travelling via Barnsley, before joining the Penistone line for the remainder of our journey to Huddersfield. Now, this isn't exactly the quickest journey in the world, with our scheduled travel time being 1 hour and 16 minutes. And we depart a very rainy Sheffield on time at 25 to 4. After passing Sheffield Forgemasters Steelworks and the old Brightside Station, which closed in 1995, we arrive at Meadowhall, which serves the nearby shopping centre of the same name. The shopping centre, which is one of the largest in the country, opened in 1990. After Meadowhall, we run fairly fast, making just a few stops on our way to Barnsley. Right, time for a wander. Bicycle spaces can be found towards the end of our coach, where the fold-up seats are. You can bring bicycles on board at no extra charge, and nor do you need a reservation. Then this is the bit where the extra coach has been almost stitched on. As you can see, we've got a cab here, connected to just a regular carriage end. Seems a bit like the sort of move they'd pull on the London Underground, but hey, if it works, it works. The front carriage has spaces for wheelchair users, next to which you'll find the train's only toilet. While I'd normally expect a 3-car train to have 2 toilets, I get that this wasn't part of the original design, but rather a byproduct of 2 units being stitched together. And if having more seats available means having to wait to use the toilet, so be it. And I was pleased to find that everything was in order here, all clean and working as intended. And you'll also find baby changing facilities here too. Another modern addition to these trains that they definitely weren't equipped with in the 1980s is complimentary Wi-Fi, although I couldn't get my usual speed test to work here. Anyway, we're now just pulling into Barnsley. Barnsley is a large market town, historically known for its production of linen, and later, its coal mines. Almost immediately after leaving Barnsley, we join the bottom of the Penistone line, shortly after which we cross the M1, which is the second longest motorway in the country, running for some 193 miles from London, to the A1M north of Leeds. The M1 is also the only place I've ever received a speeding ticket, for the heinous crime of doing 46 miles an hour in a temporary 40 limit, so grrr. Anyway, most of the Penistone line is single track, running through the very picturesque countryside that lies between Barnsley and Huddersfield. Despite this, the line still, in theory at least, sees hourly service for much of the day, but more on that in a bit. We eventually arrive in the town of Penistone, careful how you pronounce that one, which of all the stations on our route is the one that they decided to name the line after. I'll give you a moment to get that one out of your system.
Grow up.
All jokes aside, Penistone is a nice little town, as are many here in the Pennine foothills, and is known for its monthly farmers market. Immediately after leaving the station, we cross Penistone Viaduct. As we cross Denbydale Viaduct, we can see Emily Moor Mast off in the distance, standing at a height of 319 metres or 1,047 feet. It is the tallest freestanding structure in the UK and is used to broadcast television over the hilly Pennine regions as far as the likes of Hull and Manchester. It's actually the third mast to stand on the site and was built between 1969 and 1971 to replace the second mast, which collapsed during bad weather.
Next up, Denbydale.
At Brockholes we can see the old and now disused southbound platform, with the station building on that side having since been converted into a private home. We eventually arrive at our penultimate intermediate stop of Berry Brow. The station here is the newest on the Penistone line, having opened in October of 1989. Although before this, there was another station located a few hundred metres from the current site, although this closed in 1966. Berry Brow was also my local station for a year or so. So I think we'll rate the experience using the chart from last week's video, as you all seem to like that, and I think it's a pretty good way of visualising things. The seats I thought were pretty comfortable, and the ride quality wasn't too bad either. However, these were both seriously let down by the lack of legroom. While I don't expect tons of legroom on a regional train, I do expect to at least be able to alight without a dead leg, so I think a 6 out of 10 would be fair in the comfort category. I was, however, pleased to see that the extra coaches on the Penistone line seem to be having the desired effect. While it wasn't uncommon for occupancy to be high or even very high when this route was operated by 2-carriage trains, on the whole, I'd say occupancy on this service was low. In terms of onboard amenities, it's the same as most of Northern services really, with both wheelchair and bicycle spaces, one toilet, and even plug sockets and Wi-Fi being provided. While there was plenty of space for luggage on overhead racks, it would have been nice if there were larger stacks somewhere on the train, but that is perhaps a bit nitpicky, as the amenities provided were good overall for a regional train. However, punctuality was a very different story. Of the 17 services that Northern were scheduled to operate between Sheffield and Huddersfield on the day that we travelled, only 9 or around 53% arrived on time, with 4 services, or nearly 1 in 4, being cancelled outright. Nice to see that some things haven't changed since I moved from Huddersfield then. A drastic improvement in this department is required in my opinion. And finally, the cost. Advanced singles for Sheffield to Huddersfield, or vice versa, start at just £3.10 if you don't have a rail card, or £2 with a rail card. And hey, by the sounds of it, this could work out to be even less based on those punctuality statistics, thanks to the delay repay scheme. Joking aside, I do think that is really good value for money. But overall, providing a train does actually turn up, I think that this is a pretty enjoyable and rather scenic rail journey. However, I appreciate that this is just my opinion, so do be sure to let me know yours in the comments below. After stopping at our final stop, Lockwood, and being held just short of Springwood Junction for several minutes, while we waited for another service to clear our platform, we finally pulled into Huddersfield Station 6 minutes late at 16:57. Right, that's all from me this week. However, in the meantime, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as all of them help me out immensely. Special thanks, as always, to my fantastic patrons and channel members. If you want to join them in supporting the channel from as little as £1, $1, or €1 per month, then you'll find the relevant links in the description below. With that, all that's left for me to say is thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all next Friday.